Meanwhile, the remarks by Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini calling for the deportation of foreign nationals living in South Africa has met widespread criticism. The Zulu monarch is quoted in weekend reports as saying it is unacceptable that locals are being made to compete with people from other countries for the few economic opportunities available. The Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa, is the mother body of traditional leaders in the country. We spoke to Kgosi Setlamorago Thobejane, the president of Contralesa, who has openly supported King Zwelithini by saying the government should act urgently to address the continued influx of people seeking a better life here.
Under normal circumstance, every time you will hear the king speaking, he will be pronouncing the decisions of the community. The community have been spoken about the issue of foreigners. It looks we are hard to be, to listen to them. And then it becomes, something that worried the king to say it then means I have to say directly from what the people are saying. We really understand the frustration the king is sitting under it. It is not his own voice, it's the voice of the people. The problem is when those who are supposed to have been, attending to the challenge of the foreigners are turning a blind eye over. It's where the problem will come, the way the king have raised it. In our own view, the issues of the foreigners, it is long overdue. The matter should have been attended in a different way. We've written a communique, a concept document to the Minister of International Relations 4 or 5 years down the line, proposing to them that this issue of foreigners, we should not wait until it overtake ourselves.
Let me apologize and chip in there. Before we get on to the complexities, it would be important for us to explain the term foreigners as echoed by King Goodwill Zwelithini.
Of course, the common understanding of foreigners that seem to be the common understanding in South Africa, they are referring to our fellow Africans as foreigners. Not the Western, not the white communities, not the Chinese, not other, communities. And it is just unfortunate. It is as a result of, the way we have been, diagnosed. Our mindset has been, directed to see ourselves as not brothers as we are supposed to. So, in all essence, wherever we are saying foreigners, very rare we are referring to
our own fellow African
exactly.
brothers.
So it is unfortunate because we were not supposed to be that way. We were supposed to say foreigners when we referred to people in particular coming from out of the continent. But we are referring to our own Zimbabwe and Mozambique and Botswana, Lesotho. They are the ones that we are talking about them. And it is something that we need to change our mindset and said, by the way, who are we? Maybe an identity, it's required that we should revisit identifications of ourselves.
And what do you understand King Goodwill Zwelithini to be saying? Who is he referring to?
In his articulation, it's saying politicians, parliamentarians, legislators, there is a problem, talk to it. Don't turn your eyes on it. You see, when the Human Rights Commission is saying we will investigate and if indeed the utterance is correct, would then call King into whatever order they wanted to. We appreciate when they're saying they're going to investigate, but the problem is they are not going to sit down with the king and talk to him. They are going to read the script and say, we are convinced the statement is there. The language that the king was, communicating through, it's not a Zulu language. It's again this language that is monopolizing and corrupting our thinking. And every time we are reading script written in the languages that is not our own languages, we may communicate things that we did not intended to. What we do know is indeed what he was saying. He was saying the issue relating to people who are not indigenous people of South Africa needs to be looked into. We need to find a solution. And indeed, we need to find a solution.
If he is not crying wolf per se, what is the suggestion and the argument that he's making that people are made to compete for jobs? How legitimate is that argument if we do not have anything scientific?
When we are saying a king, we are talking about a councillor, we are talking about a judiciary, we are talking about a person who's looking at the social, economic, impact of the society. And then the issue of jobless, the issues of our people are not, in the, industries, they are not employed, they are not employable for that matter. It is a matter that requires all of us to say, then what do? We cannot have a society that it's not employable in terms of, the requirements of the jobs in South Africa. But in essence, it becomes very painful when you see people that you thought they are the rightful owners who were supposed to be seen, finding a solution for, their own challenges. They are, becoming spectators when the industry is run by people who, in the understanding of many, do have, skills and professional understanding coming with those skills from somewhere, not in, embedded in them in South Africa. And that's what he's saying, to say, for how long am I going to sit with a nation that is starving, a nation that is not employed, the nation that is, sitting under poverty? For how long am I going to sit? Hence, he's saying South Africans, legislators, parliament, the lawmaking, society, talk to this thing, address this challenge before it becomes, too big to be, attended to in a near future.
This is a century of the common man. We would want South Africa to behave as ascribed by international law and international obligations, which would include housing refugees, both political and economic. Where do we shift that ground to if we are not to host these people who are coming here seeking political and economic asylum, so to speak?
I'm sure if the king and the institution of traditional leaders were saying we don't want to carry that responsibility, this kind of statement would have been long being articulated. But it has taken too long because we kept on saying, but let's find if we cannot find a solution. When the king is getting, it's getting overwhelmed by the statement, by his people, by everybody around him to say, these foreigners that are occupying every little corner, every space that is there, where do we go? Do we have to go and, get the same treatment outside our own country? The answer is no. And then in our own view, the sooner we discuss this matter in an appropriate manner, allowing everything, because if we are going to react every time they're saying there are xenophobic, attacks, that are xenophobic, elements of, what people are saying, then we acted only on that. Then we are chasing an air. We will never win this case, because this case requires a comprehensive, sophisticated, analogy that will then lead us to where the problem is. The problem, as we are talking, I'm sure you would know, that nobody, whether Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of International Relations, President of the Republic of South Africa, nobody can stand tall and say, I can account for everybody that is in South Africa as of today. Nobody have got that idea. Therefore, up until we came up with that particular understanding, we will keep on having this kind of, issues coming from this quarter, that quarter. And the unfortunate, it's when it has been articulated by a senior citizen like the king of the Zulus. It's a senior citizen in the Republic of South Africa. When you count the kings that almost 12 in numbers, All of them, they are the ones who are giving us as Contralesa orders to say, go and run after this particular problem. The issue we have been reporting to them of all these conferences that we have, of all this communication that we have given to government to say, well, guys, let's look at this thing of foreigners. Let's look at this thing of people coming from outside South Africa and come up with a better solution. And it seems there's nobody. Despite the fact that I don't know that the ruling party itself, in its policies, it has got a policy dealing with foreign affairs, but it's not enough.
If you mention a solution, there would be a view that is held by Contralesa as the Congress of Traditional Leaders. How would you want to see the problem being solved going forward?
Of course, the paper that we have forwarded to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperative Governance, in it, we are saying we must accept that South Africa has been seen as the green pasture for almost everybody, not only in Africa, but in the whole world.